Thank you for joining us here at Pursuit of Purpose for another episode of our What Are We Doing podcast, our live show every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Our topic that we've been discussing is
Fatherhood.
And today we're going to talk about an aspect of fatherhood, and it's what does it mean to be a dad versus a father?
Okay.
Because the two terms are not necessarily the same.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And be thinking out there in the audience, if you have response, please message us, because we're going to explore the way we have perceived it, not only as having dads and fathers, but becoming dads and fathers. And so, that's drawn out a lot in us. I know as I started to participate more as a dad and a father, and we're going to differentiate that more as we go today. All I could see with the people who came before me, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what they saw.
Right.
And I wanted so bad to pick up the phone and to call my dad, who sadly was deceased at the time. And I wanted to go, you were right. You had it. You understood it. And I'm sorry, I was able to say that a little bit. But dads and fatherhoods.
Yes. So we've actually touched on this topic a little bit in the past. In this series, we've talked about the difference in a dad and a father. And basically, to make it really simple, any male of the human species that produces sperm can become a father.
Yes. Those are the two words I wrote down. They can supply and they can provide, even if it's just seed.
Yes.
If that's your only sublimation or provision.
Yeah. Any male of our species can become a father.
Yes.
Doesn't take a whole lot of energy, doesn't take a lot of effort, doesn't take a lot of commitment. Just produce the seed. Right?
That's it.
But there is an enormous amount of difference in becoming a father and being a dad.
Yes.
And not all fathers are dads, and that is for certain.
Unfortunately, that is for certain.
And the discussion that we've been having throughout this series is about absentee fathers in the home. The lack of fatherhood, the lack of dad presence in the American family and across the world, not just America.
Right.
But that is of epidemic proportions, and it is causing generational impact in a very negative regard. It's causing mental health issues. It's causing societal decline, productivity issues.
Yes.
All sorts of things. But what do you think is the origination? How does a man produce a child and decide not to be a dad?
Whew, man,
how do they get to that?
Right.
Like, we've talked about fear in the past. We've talked about how it could be a sense of that man thinks that he's going to have to sacrifice.
Yes.
In order to be a dad.
And obviously perceives that as a negative, because some things may have to go so something can take its place.
Yeah.
And I have to want that replacement, meaning going from, say, single manhood into a portion to becoming a daddy. Because and maybe the single man doesn't necessarily want to have a relationship with the mom, as far as like mom and dad in the home. Okay, I mean, those relationships can work out. And we have friends and acquaintances of ours who they're not in the same home, but they're excellent dads.
Right.
They are engagers, they're participators, they're dedicated, they dive in at every opportunity. And so it can happen. But to the original comment, I know I'm going to have to give up a portion to take on this other. So what happens, I guess that's our open-ended question. What happens that there are some men that can't bridge that gap, that can't cross that divide and say, okay, a portion of me is now going to go into that?
Right. Well, I think you touched on the source throughout all that stuff you just said.
Okay.
You said this one word over and over again. The word was want.
Want.
I think the want is the source to become the difference,
Yes.
in just being a father or being a dad.
That's it.
To want.
You have to want it.
To want to see how much more you as a man can become.
Right.
And then to want to see how much of yourself is worth passing on to the next generation.
Wow.
To want to see that legacy be created.
Do you think that could be the source of some of the intimidation?
Absolutely.
Is that because your comment was how much that I can pass on to the next generation, but what if immediately I'm disqualifying myself?
Right.
I have nothing to offer this child, which is not true. I mean, if evidently they've made it to old enough adulthood, let's presuming they're 20s, 30s, or what have you. So they're old enough to have made it this far, so they can offer plenty. They just don't know that they do.
Right.
How do we draw that out?
And really, interestingly enough, they don't have to have the confidence right offhand.
Right.
They don't have to do it right. They don't have to do it perfect.
Yeah.
They just have to want to do it at all.
That's it.
And that's what makes the difference between a father and a dad is the want to and the willingness to just do it.
Right.
To be the best that you can be in the moment that you're there and be there. Be present in a kid's life. Become that mentoring presence.
Yes.
In their life. And that can be a stepdad, that can be a Sunday school teacher, that could be a youth group leader, that can be all kind of forms.
Right.
Those are all representations of a dad.
Yes.
And, I don't know in our audience out there who all might be watching or listening that is a Christian or not a Christian, but I am. And Jesus gave this example of being willing, wanting to give himself in every way that he could, no matter if people made fun of him, no matter if people believed in him or not, no matter what happened, he believed in his purpose. So he never had a kid.
Right.
But he was a dad to you and me.
Yes.
And his father sacrificed everything to show us what it was like to be a dad to us as well.
Right. Absolute devotion.
So it doesn't take us to be qualified. It just takes us to be willing.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
So,
wow, that's an excellent point. I like that.
So one of the things I want to touch on in this live episode today, and I'd love to hear from you in the audience,
please,
is to challenge you through your unqualified circumstances, because none of us are qualified.
Right.
My wife and I have experienced the lives of 8 kids.
Yes.
Plus their friends and, whatever throughout the years. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that I am still absolutely unqualified.
Yes.
There are kids that, and every one of those kids is completely different from the others. None of them are the same. Their needs are different. They act different.
Right.
And I'm just still me. And every interaction I have with these people, I'm going to call my kids people, which is a loose use of the term. Every interaction I have with them is just another illustration of how unqualified I still am. But I'm willing and I want to be a dad to them.
Right.
And some of the things that I learned later, I wish I'd learned it earlier.
Oh my, what? Yes.
Some of the things that I learned later was that it's okay for them to know you failed.
Yes.
It helps them understand that that's part of life.
Yes.
Like in my younger years, I would get so frustrated while I was being a dad because I didn't want them to see me, fail or lose or do wrong or, feel down or any of that stuff. But that's just being fake. It is.
It's being very pretentious.
Yeah.
To what end? To what end would we do something like that? Would we create that atmosphere? So if you're a dad on the call today, that's a challenge, to practice authenticity. I'm not saying putting your children in adult situations, but let them see you a little vulnerable. Let them see you scratch your head. Let them see you sit up a little bit later, like I'm going to figure that out, because they go through the same things. And what a model for dedication to be better. I get dads that come in often in the counseling setting, and sometimes their kids are there. Most of the times we get the kids out of the room and they go, all right, man, you're a dad. What do you think I should do? And I go, better than me. They're like, really? I go, yes. Their first thoughts are, if I'm paying you, shouldn't you have this down perfectly? I said, no, what I have perfect is my willingness. If I don't understand it, I'm going to go read. I'm going to go listen. Or as men, we'll sit here and we'll talk this thing out, man. And if you'll let me ask the consequential questions, okay, you want to go home and that's how you want to address that with your son. Well, what's your intended outcome? What do you want to come from that? And they have to go through the whole wants in that direction as well. I like asking those questions because it gets them thinking. They're like, I don't think that's going to get me what I want, Chuck. There you go. Now we're learning.
It's a fascinating thing. You know, we at home, my wife and I, we have our youngest is 7, and between the ages of probably 4 to I don't know, 8 maybe, the child, no matter which age, but especially the boys, they want to know everything.
Yes.
They have an endless supply of questions. And they ask you as the parent, whether it's mom or dad, for the answers. And they almost never ask like open-ended question. They want the answer. They want a definitive, qualified answer. And in my younger years as a parent, one of the biggest things that I failed at was giving them the answers. I had to learn as I got older that it's okay to say, I don't know the answer. Let's learn together.
There you go.
And with our 7-year-old, his favorite thing to do is at the end of the day or beginning of the day, when he's in the back seat of the vehicle, is to just chatter. And a lot of times he'll delve off into question after question after question. And what I've learned is it's more valuable to say, I don't know, we'll have to figure that out. And then he'll follow up later on when I'm not driving.
Oh, yes.
And then we get to learn together. I don't have to be the answer man.
Right.
So being a dad doesn't mean that you have all the answers.
No.
It just means that you help them to equip them with how and where to find answers.
There you go.
And help them learn how to learn.
That's it. It helped them learn how to learn, because that desire for learning is going to leave your home and sail into the unknown. And it's what they take with them. And so that's an excellent example. And so thank goodness for your youngest, who's an awesome guy, by the way. He's getting such a broken model,
right?
That's been fine tuned after all these years,
worn out
decades.
Shoes,
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love his curiosity. Oh, that's beautiful.
So one of the greatest things as a dad that your kids can see in you is you said it a second ago, it's vulnerability.
Yes.
Another one is humility.
Yes.
And the willingness to always want to learn.
Yes.
Those are some key attributes to dadhood.
That is a 3-quartered strand right there. That's awesome. Yes, it is. Very key to dadhood.
So is there anyone out there? I mean, we've got some people watching. I can see the little counter up in the screen. Is there anyone out there who has a dad story that they'd like to share that we could share with the audience, where your dad taught you a valuable principle about life in a moment, in a word, and you've got it seared in your memory, and it's one of your most precious stories? We'd love to hear that from you. I've got one that I'll share. It's a dad moment that came from my grandfather. When I was little, I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. And for those of you who follow the show, there's an episode that you can actually watch about him. He's one of our early interviews. He's a World War II veteran and has an extraordinary life full of experiences. But when I was a kid, I didn't know about all that.
Right.
He took me fishing. And fishing is a place that a dad type person can impart all kinds of wisdom into a kid. So here's my story of wisdom from my grandfather. So we were going fishing, right? And we fished in Sabine Lake in an old boat, an old fiberglass boat. And the name of the boat was Suds. It had it in the sticker on both sides, SUDZ. Suds.
Okay.
And so my grandfather would take me fishing, and I was really young, and I get so excited every time I catch a fish. and we fished on we bottom fished on oyster reefs out in Sabine Lake, and we would fish with shrimp. And he'd put the shrimp on for me when I was just learning, and I'd drop it in the water, and the fish would bite really fast, and I'd set the hook, and I'd reel it in really fast because I had a fish, and I'd reel that leader all the way up to the tip of the rod. I'd get so excited, and I'd swing it over into the boat, and he would have such a hard time trying to get the fish off of the hook because I had reeled it in. There was no slack, and I'm still holding on to the rod and reel, and so he's over there fighting me and the fish, trying to get the fish off the line, right? And every time I would do this, he would say, don't reel it all the way up. Don't reel the leader all the way to the end of the line. And I would say, well, okay, yes, sir. And then every time, invariably, I would do the same thing again. Well, finally, he'd get frustrated. He got this one day, I'll never forget it. He got frustrated. And on the next time that I did it, I reeled it and put it in there, and he's holding it, and he just stops everything. And there's this moment out on the lake. This is a dad moment right here, okay? He said, you don't have to be such a jackass. You could listen to what I'm telling you. And I had never heard my grandpa talk like that. Wow. And I thought to myself, I didn't feel belittled or attacked or anything like that. I was just like, okay, I've got to stop letting my excitement, overwhelm me, and I've got to pay attention so he can help me. And from that moment on, I would get excited, but then I would begin to focus on the distance that I got the leader to the pole before I'd bring the fish in the boat. And to this day, when I catch a fish out in the saltwater, when I hang the fish, when I set the hook, my mind immediately goes to the distance of the leader to the pole because of that moment with my grandfather. And the wisdom in that applies to so many things.
Yes.
We do things in life, and this is why it was so valuable to me, and I carried it with me my whole life. I was probably 6, maybe 7 years old when that happened. But we get overzealous in life, and we reel the leader all the way up to the end of the pole.
Right.
Without giving any slack
for
the things that need to take place in order for the fish to come off the hook.
That's a great analogy. Yes.
So we're trying to bring all these blessings into our life.
Right.
And we're doing all these accomplishments and doing all these big things. And we get overzealous and we reel it all the way up.
Right.
And we don't give any slack so that we can actually receive what we're reeling in.
Man, that's good.
So that one moment, my grandfather would, he might not even remember it, but I'll never forget it.
Right. And
I can tell you this, that when my kids were little and I was taking them fishing, they did the same thing. And guess what?
Oh,
I did the same thing.
They got the same.
Now, and I don't know if it was as impactful. I could only hope that it was.
We'll see. Time will tell.
But for those of you out there that understand the analogy, don't be a jackass.
No. Because you don't have to be.
Leave some slack in the line.
You could.
Yes. Especially if you're a dad. Yeah. Now, that's another great crossover with that example.
Right.
Sometimes even with our kids, we get so excited about something we're going to do with them or for them or something that they're going to do.
Right.
We don't give them enough slack.
Right.
To have it for themselves.
That's true. We feel like we have to see it all the way to some completion or they're not going to get the full experience.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we're missing so many other little learning moments like that one. And I love the way that he put that. He's such a beautiful man. He did it. And I don't have a perfect explanation, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
It's almost like it was an encouragement. Now the challenge is, let's see if he chooses to do it. And you did.
Yeah.
And so I love that. He handled that like a champ. He'd been around kids before.
And what was really funny is after it happened, we went back to fishing and he didn't like beat me over the head with it.
Right.
He watched to see what I'd do the next time. And, of course I got better.
Yes.
Or at least I think I did.
I'm pretty sure you did.
But it was an amazing experience, full of what I call wisdom.
Right.
For him, it just might have been frustration, but I got a lot out of it.
Right.
So if you've got a story, we'd love to hear it.
Yes.
We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it and pass it on. We know that things like that hold a lot of meaning.
Yes.
And there's a lot of wisdom and truth in them.
I'm going to write that down. Leave slack for learning.
Right. Leave some slack in the line.
Leave some slack in the line.
So also at this time, we'd love to know if there's any of you out there that have anything you'd like to discuss, any questions about being a dad, about fatherhood. Is anyone out there that would like to call in? We'd invite you to do it. The phone number is 409-284-1540. Be glad to invite you on the air with us live. We've had some callers call in and had some great times with that.
Yeah.
But we'd love to hear from you, whether it be a typed message or online or live in person, either way.
And you don't have to be a dad or a father. If you're a lady and that's listening and you have either a dad story or something along those lines, man, that's what it's all about. Is also influencing those daughters. I mean, we're a little biased because we are two men influenced by men, But I love that. I know you've had daughters. I love having daughters, and because we get to show them just what a dad can be, or that particular component of a man can be,
right.
More than just a supplier. And that's the thing. We're not downing fatherhood. There needs to be a supplier. There needs to be somebody to go out and produce provisions, especially for children who can't produce those on their own. They're still little students at this point. Yeah. So we surround them with provisions to make that as safe and comfortable and as learnable as possible.
Right.
Then when we see opportunity, we slip in these dad influences, whether it's the two phrases that change a life in a boat on Sabine Lake, or whether it's just, hey, you can do it, figure it out, I'll watch you. And they're like, okay, he's watching, so he's not going to leave me here out by myself.
Right.
And so like the first time, I know your son's old enough now, he could probably bait and also get his fish off his own hook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it has been able to probably for a while, but that first try was probably the worst try. You're like, it's okay. And you teach him how to grab it and all that. Oh, I love those times.
Yeah.
Because I'm making a deposit they'll never forget.
That's right.
I remember teaching my daughter how to bait a hook, and I remember how to teach her how to take the fish off. And it may have been a little purse, no bigger than your hand, but she learned. And she still goes fishing every now and then. So that's how it goes.
Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us and listening to us talk and tell our stories. And this is going to be the close of our fatherhood series. We've got a new series we're going to start next week, Tuesday, the same time, 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to begin talking about adoption.
Oh.
We're going to begin a series about discussion of being adopted or adopting kids.
Yes.
We're gonna have some guests on from some different organizations locally that deal with those things specifically, and may bring some of my kids on here.
Hey,
maybe we'll see what that goes like. And then I tell you what, if you're on here now and you get a chance to see this episode, before we close, I want to let you guys know that we are having a live on location pop-up podcast Friday, this coming Friday. That's May 16th, from the hours of 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the purpose of this podcast is it's a chance for you to come out in person, go live on the air with us, and we're going to go through a very directed interview process to help you discover your purpose.
Yes.
Because that's what this practice is all about. The pursuit of purpose. Everyone, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what your age, no matter what you've been through, everyone has a purpose.
Yes.
In the season of life that you live in. And you will not find fulfillment until you begin to pursue it.
That's right.
You will always feel as though there is some little part of you that's not quite done, not quite fulfilled, not quite complete.
Yes. And that's a fact. And we see that so often in both the counseling and coaching sides of what we do. Is part of the reason that folks come in and they do feel that sense of deficit or those sorts of things is because they eventually discover that sometimes it has been they have not pursued a particular purpose, or they saw an opportunity and maybe disqualified themselves, and now they're living with that regret, and maybe they'd like to rediscover some of that. So it's out there, and most all of you know what we're talking about. You've had those moments. Not that what you're doing probably isn't a very valuable thing. We're talking to parents today, but there may be some of those other things that you could experience. And so we'd love to have you come out and kind of let us, put you through a few little interview questions, and just to see maybe what we can discover about how things can be hopefully better, and maybe some sense of fulfillment can be achieved.
And you might actually teach us a thing or two.
More than likely, because we've had folks on here, we thought we knew so much about everything that they did, and we had no idea some of the things that has contributed to what they become.
Yeah.
And I've sat here in awe so many times I can't even count. Like, I would have never thought that. And so I bet you have some of those stories.
Well, thank you guys for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. Thank you for joining us again for another one of our live episodes of the What Are We Doing live show that we produce here at Pursuit of Purpose. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And we'll talk to you soon.